Warning. This program contains strong language, auditory violence, and mental nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to your uncensored home for World of Warcraft news and opinions. With your host, Berzerker, this is Unshackled Fury.
The Lords of Shadowflame have been bested for now. Titan Keeper has returned. And if you look real close, a new tree has been planted on our front lawn. So welcome back to your uncensored home for World of Warcraft news and opinions, Unshackled Fury. I'm your host, Berzerker. This is episode 138. And on today's show, we're taking a look at the end of the major Dragonflight quest line, the hopes, the fallout, everything in between, before diving into other Titanic happenings, some good news for Blizzard overall, and everyone's favorite, the last Trading Post ratings of the year. But first, wanted to acknowledge what an incredible November we just had, as December has begun. Looking back, this past November 2023 may be one of the most impactful ever for World of Warcraft. The announcements at BlizzCon, obviously huge. The whole World Soul Saga, the sort of, public re-unveiling of Chris Metzen, all the information that came out of that, and everything else, a new game, Rumble, Warcraft Rumble coming out, and then finishing up with the new classic season of Discovery, or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know. It's in my notes. Big November. Huge November. I don't know how you duplicate that. And of course, around here anyway, had a couple of great guests with Jez Corden and Brother Navox, Brother Navo, the man himself, back on the show for the first time in a long time, and always great chatting with those two fine gentlemen and talking World of Warcraft, because that's what we do. And as I told you, this time of year, it's the best. It's the best time of year. And maybe BlizzCon has something to do with it. It's the fall. It all comes together so nicely. So next year, when supposedly the War Within hits in fall, because we were told, I think, fall of 2023, they'll make sure that I'm not a liar once again. So I really appreciate that. Now, I've actually got a twofer this week for you in the metal album of the week. And it's a timely one. It's a seasonal one. It is Christmas Eve and Other Stories by the legendary Trans-Siberian Orchestra. On this album is probably their most well-known song, but there is a very deep and amazing, rich metal history when it comes to Trans-Siberian Orchestra. It was founded by a legendary producer, Paul O'Neill, who was responsible for a variety of acts. And, you look into his biography, the man touched a lot of great bands, but the one in particular that has a direct tie into Trans-Siberian Orchestra the most, and their success, and the album that I just named, is the band Savatage. Which, if you've never heard of the band Savatage, if you've never ripped up in their music and just like plugged it in your ears and jammed out, you're fucking missing out. So that's spoiler alert, or foreshadowing. I don't know, one of the two. So on Christmas Eve and Other Stories, there is a song called Christmas Eve Sarajevo, which was actually released first as a Sabotage song. So it came from that band all the way back in whatever it was, 1996, 95. And this was carried over to Trans-Siberian Orchestra and on the album Christmas Eve and Other Stories, which came out in October of 1996, this appeared. Now, as much as I would love to play this song on the air here, I'm never really quite sure what the trademark situations are or some other violation shit. So just go out and check it out for yourself. Went to a concert of theirs last night. It's always around the Christmas season, right? They come out and they hit a lot of shows in a very small number of days. And it's amazing to see. It's metal, it's classical, there's blues elements, there's kind of like old school rock and roll elements. There's all kinds of stuff going on set against this amazing fiery laser light show. If you go look out on Twitter, I have a post where I did have a clip of this song posted from the live show, along with some of the great laser lighting that they had. And there was an opera singer in a snow globe at one point. I mean, it's just it's pretty amazing. You get a varied crowd, metalheads like me, old folks dressed up in their finest, and everything in between, young, old, doesn't matter. I mean, it's a sold out crowd of all kinds of folks and everybody coming together and having a good time and just vibing on the Christmas season. It's pretty great. I'm not going to lie. If you don't feel good coming out of that, I don't know what you're doing. So they come around. Please, I would highly encourage you to check out their website, look for tickets. It has gotten a little more expensive over the years, but doesn't matter where you sit. You're going to see something amazing. So that's sort of a plug for the live performance. And of course, coming off of that less than 24 hours ago, fucking amazing. So their album, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Christmas Eve and Other Stories, that's one recommendation. The other recommendation is, of course, you knew it was coming, Rommel, Hall of the Mountain King by Sabotage, released in September of 1987. Yeah, it's an old one. But the song itself, the title track, Hall of the Mountain King, is just ripping. First of all, the vocals, untouchable. The vocal range, incredible. But there is like a kind of like a solo that's right in the middle of it, and if you're not blaring that at old folks while you're driving past your neighborhood grocery stores you're leaving, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. So, Hall of the Mountain King, that's your second metal album of the week. So, giving you a twofer. It's great for the holiday season as well. And, the old folks, they gotta love it too. There you go. Hall of the Mountain King by Sabotage. Christmas Eve and Other Stories by Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Get them in your ear holes. Have a good time. Jam out. And tell them Berzerker sent you. All right. We got a rage topic this week that I think needs to be expounded upon. And so why don't we go ahead and get right into it.
Let's rage.
So a lot of activity. We got a lot of news coming on this week. And again, we're coming out of a pretty good month. But there's always something. There's always something. And so I wanted to bring this thing to your attention here as we're closing out the year.
Berzerker.
Wow. Damn, management. You haven't been around for a little bit.
Yeah, well, we've been busy. with all of the BlizzCon happenings, there was quite a bit of activity going on. I'm sure you know.
Yeah, I'm quite aware. What can I do for you? Why are you interrupting my trademark segment?
Well, we heard about your ratings. We heard you broke the top 100 video game podcasts in the U.S. And, we wanted to make sure that you knew that we saw that.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I was a bit surprised. You never know how these ratings are going to go. These numbers, I mean, shit, I don't know who's pulling these things. It's Chartable is the one that I'm looking at. But yeah, it was a brief glimpse into the top 100, but we hung out there for a couple days and then plummeted back down as is usual. But yeah, thanks for the recognition. I appreciate that.
Well, of course, but we wanted to make sure that you knew that even though you accomplished that, you're still third in the bonus roll portfolio, and it's just not as good as, let's say, For Azeroth and Girls Gone WoW. Third, well, you're doing okay, but you can continue to pull it up.
Honestly, management, I wish you would put a little bit more respect on Unshackled Fury in this rankings system. Pulling or getting into the top 100. That was a big deal. Catching up with the two of those shows. I caught up to them pretty quick, and I think that deserves a little bit more than a pat on the back. I mean, I'm in this ratings run as much as anyone else.
Well, that is true. You've been working hard, and we noticed that. We've seen a lot of the work there, and you did do good BlizzCon numbers. So it's possible you did earn that media credential. That's something we'll continue to consider as time goes on. But keep striving for number one. Management out.
Boy, that doesn't lift your ego. Nothing will. But I'll take my rankings and I'll take my ratings and I'll take whatever we can get. But yeah, I'll tell you the truth. If you listen to the show and you like the show, drop us a rating wherever you listen to us. It'd be great. And if you feel so inclined, writing a review, also helpful. But appreciate the downloads, and that's, as long as you're having a good time, that's really all that matters to me. And with that, we kind of run out of time for our rage segment of the week. So why don't we just go ahead and get into our news. So I mentioned it last time with Nav. Wasn't going to get into the end of the raid just yet. I wanted to let it breathe a little bit. We had the Race for World First going on, some unknowns, and, people are still playing through it. Technically, as I record this, the fourth wing of Raid Finder, I don't believe is out, the last run of it. So if you're waiting on that, there are going to be some spoilers coming because we got a lot to talk about, and I'm sorry. Maybe save this one for when you're done, but it's just that time. Because Race for World First is over. It was won by Echo, so congrats to them. It was a pretty close race between Echo and Liquid, I think, and they were neck and neck for quite a bit, and they had a bunch of sub 2% wipes and stuff like that. I don't know how they do it, but Echo triumphant in the end. And so now we're starting to see a lot of the, legendary stuff that I'll get into, and all these other things. Now we can talk about it more openly. So first, before we got to the raid, we had a whole long quest line from 10.2. Multiple chapters, I think 6 in total, starting with Farak, right? Big bad shadow flame axe cutting his way in. And we get into the Emerald Dream, and we see that things are already corrupted, and we've got all these ancients in there, and we're trying to rally their forces. And so all of that fight begins. And we get Ysera in the battle. She swaps with Malfurion. Big weepy goodbye. Oh, goodbye, Malfurion, for the 10 billionth fucking time. When she comes, her and Marithra and Alexstrasza and all the folks, all the dragon folks, all the night elf folks, everybody jumping in the fight to fight off Farak and his forces. And as we make our way further into the landmass that we have access to, we see all the different forms of corruption and all the ways that the various Fire Lord folks have taken over, and we just continue to push them back over time. And it's a long, drawn-out affair. I'm sure great lore shows like Live, Laugh, Lore, and others will cover it in greater detail. But essentially, we are assisting in that fight and just moving that front further along until we get to Amir Drasil itself, where we kind of have like this final showdown. And I gotta say, it's pretty fucking rad, where as we're closing in, and Farak, he's not freaking out. He knows what's up. We have sort of like, and I've seen other people talk about it, this Avengers Endgame moment where all of these great faction leaders and major lore figures show up, and they're like kind of coming over the rise and the whole thing. And it's, all the people we've been dealing with this entire expansion, the Drakthir folks, Rathian, Sibelian, the Centaur, the Tuskar, all those folks. And then we see Khadgar. We see Jaina. We see Bane and Thrall and Terralion, and I mean, it is like the super group suddenly shows up, and it was pretty badass. I'm not gonna lie. Some people are like, whatever, but I thought it was pretty cool. Jaina, especially, we haven't seen her in forever, so nice to finally see her, and more on her in a little bit, but. To get through that whole campaign, that whole quest line, to see all of them, Chen Stormstout, who we haven't seen in a hot minute. Essentially, we have to defeat this new. Remember Lord Ryaloth? Yeah, well, somebody shapeshifted into his ass, and now we gotta fight him. Pretty cool. I thought it was great. I love it when they pull people together like that. I'm a sucker for that whole thing anyway. The Avengers Endgame. Maybe it's just because I'm in touch with my emotions a little too much, but man, that scene fucked me up. When you hear Sam coming over the radio to Cap, oh baby, I was screaming. I was one of the ones in the theater going, yeah, it was pretty sweet. So all of that, we defeat all those forces, right? And then Farak, one big swipe of his axe, breaks down the barrier to get into the raid, and boom, he's in, right? Like that's the whole path in a nutshell to get us to the raid. So, we get in the raid, fighting all the folks we got to fight, and we make our way at last to Farak. And just as a quick shout out, I want to say my raid team, South Senate raid team, 8 of 9 on 3 raid nights. That's it. Took us 3 raid nights to go 8 of 9 in normal. Yeah, it's normal. But for us, it's fucking amazing. So, that's pretty cool. And usually I would wait until our group has cleared it, but I got to get to it. So we get to Farak. we fight him, right? And we go through the whole mishmash of he's on the stand and he's a dragon, and we've dragon ridden our way to him, and it's a whole deal. We finally defeat him, and as he falls, you have this cinematic that plays, and it's of the five great dragons, 6 great dragons, and lifted up into the air, and they're hit with this wave of power. And as it focuses in on Alex Strauss's face, it's almost like a Bolvar at the top of Ice Crown Citadel, where her eyes are closed, and boom, she opens her eyes, blazing with power. And we find out that these 6 dragons have been empowered. So I talked about aspectral powers, which it's a funny thing to say, but aspectral powers have returned. So the 5 sort of flight leaders that we know, plus Viranoth, have all been given this power that they once had. But the big difference that everyone's talking about at this point is there's a conversation that happens afterwards where Caligos, in sort of disbelief, is like, our powers have returned. And Nose Dormu points out, this is not the Titan's magic. And then there's a conversation here about how Amir Drasil has now left the dream, that them coming together is what they needed to do to reclaim their powers. And so it is Azeroth itself, seemingly. Azeroth, and I don't know, they got a blessing of the tree, and so Azeroth has blessed them, given them, gifted them these powers. And so that distinction between this being or not being Titan's magic, and then this being Azeroth's power, that is a very interesting distinction, and I'm sure it's a purposeful one. Because as we've been led to believe, as we know the war within is coming, we know the World Soul Saga is coming, I think we have generally tended to believe, as players, maybe not our characters, but as players, that Azeroth, the World Soul, inside the planet, was supposed to be, or is, a Titan of some kind. It's been theorized, it's the most powerful Titan, or, it's supposed to take Targaryen place, or, it's, all these different ideas about what Azeroth is. But that distinction leads us down a very interesting road as we head into the World Soul Saga, where there's some kind of a separation between what a Titan is and what Azeroth is. And as all the various forces of the universe have raced to destroy or corrupt or ensure the birth of Azeroth, it makes for really interesting conversation out there as to what the motivations are for all of these folks. And it does feel like it's a race to whoever can get to Azeroth first will kind of claim her. But I don't know. I feel like over the next handful of years, we're going to find out that Azeroth is going to do what Azeroth wants to do, and everybody else can kind of fuck off. And in that, she has now empowered these 6 mighty dragons, one of which we saw put Odin in a frickin' ice cube with a snap of her fingers. So you know how powerful these dragons are. I mean, she's done it for a reason. She needs her protectors again. So there's a damn good chance we are not done with these dragons. And if these are her protectors, there's some damn strong protectors to have. So the aspects, I don't know. I don't know if we consider Viranoth an aspect. I guess she kind of is. I don't know. The 6 aspects, whoever they are. They've been re-empowered, and now they're going to figure out sort of what that means and where they are. There's some other conversations that the characters have about that. Part of the reason why I don't like data mining is because this to me was a surprise. Like, I didn't know what they were going to do with the dragons. I just assumed, you know, they are who they are. They've got whatever power they have. But if we look at a data mining article that was put out way back in September, several months ago, there was a spell that was data mined called the Great Dragons, which reads, Alexstrasza, Calicos, Viranath, Abyssian, Nosdormu, and Marithra arrived to receive the blessing of Amirdrasil. So, again, pretty big spoiler way ahead. And this is why I don't like the spoiler stuff. And once again, I wish people would write their titles just a little bit differently when they're writing articles about spoiler stuff. And I know that nobody from Wowhead listens to this show, but please, dear God, like for this one, just say, you know, new 10.2 spill hints at end of a Mirdrasil raid. You don't have to mention the dragon aspects. Because then you're like, oh, like, don't even say that part. But I've raged about them enough. The other big thing is after you've killed Farak and you complete the Dream's Hope quest, Tyrande will give you another quest, Blossom Witnessed. And this begins the whole controversy, I would say, about where a Mirdrasil now rests on Azeroth. The big question. All right. At the beginning of this situation, we had the seed that was originally given to Tyrande with the souls, you know, all the souls of these night elves who'd been killed in the burning of Teldrassil that had wanted to be in this. Had taken it with Malfurion into the Emerald Dream, had planted it in the Emerald Dream to keep safe and to grow. We saw the little sprout. Now it's coming time where it has to emerge into the world. And that was a question: is okay, what does that mean? Where does that go? Teldrassil, not going to happen. Right? That's, you know, not a viable option. You got Mount Hyjal. There's a tree up there. That's not going to work. So we have to have it somewhere else. Where's it going to be? Well, turns out at the end of all this, it's a new land, a new little island out on the west coast of the Dragon Isles. So this sort of landmass with this new tree appears out in that land. And so you go through the quest and, you know, there it is. And this has been quite a bit of controversy for folks all around, especially the Night Elf folks. And I can understand why. Because for all of us, you know, I'm thinking about myself. Stormwind is my home city. I'm a dwarf. Like Ironforge is my home city. Now you're establishing essentially a racial home that's not really part of the main land masses of what we've always known. Not part of the Eastern Kingdoms, not part of Kalimdor. It's off in the Dragon Isles. And I could see how that could be upsetting, where, like, man, that feels like we're kind of put off somewhere else. I don't play a Night Elf. And so I can't really speak on, like, how I'm like, oh, I'm totally offended by this, or, oh, I totally love it. Like, I don't have a lot of skin in the game. What I will say is that from the data mining that has been splashed all over the place about what's coming in 10.2.5, about the new sort of hub that's being built there, it does look pretty cool. And as I mentioned earlier about the dragon aspects being re-empowered and being so important to the future of Azeroth, Dragon Isles are probably going to be a legit spot for a long time. It's not going to be like Shattrath where nobody's there. I feel like Valdrakken is probably going to be a place to be for a while. Or there's going to be things that run through the Dragon Isles. They're making that leveling experience the starting leveling experience, I believe. And so people are going to be more familiar with that land in the years to come. And it'll change as it typically does over time. They'll move it around. But for what it's worth, I think it's a pretty cool decision. It's a little bit of a risk, but Yggdrasil as a place to be, it feels very tranquil. It's very beautiful. The land that they've built around it looks phenomenal. It's updated. It's got dragon riding. Like, I can't do that yet in Stormwind, but we will soon. I think it's pretty cool. And I understand the reasons why, and I'm sure there's a lot of legitimate reasons why people don't like that this is the choice that they've made, but I think it's pretty cool. And also logistically, it's probably a hell of a lot easier just to drop a new land out there than it is to try to plug one in somewhere else in the existing areas that already need help, I guess, in other ways. And it might just be more confusing. And so I'm sure that there is a logistical ease with doing it this way, and that's probably why it's happened. But I think it's a good decision. It's a good decision. And I think it'll pay off. I think people will like it as time comes. So the other sort of interesting thing about the end of all of this is Baraka's defeated. There's a new island out there. A new Yggdrasil Isle, or whatever they're calling it. And there's one other piece of business that sort of gets wrapped up as you play through this quest line, and that is Ysera. Ysera, former leader of the Green Dragonflight, aspect of the Green Dragonflight, was killed in Legion, founder in Ardenweald. She was, I don't know, reconstituted, I guess. Got her back just not that many weeks, months ago, when Malfurion essentially traded places with her so she could come out into our world and fight against the forces that are trying to blow up the Emerald Dream. But we saw during our questing to get to the raid, as we're going through there, that, you know, she's not as strong as she used to be. She definitely was not necessarily faltering, but she was, you could see she was struggling. And that was certainly a hint to me that I don't think she's going to be sticking around for much longer, because Marithra is clearly the leader of the Green Dragonflight, and that was cemented when her Aspectral powers were given to her. So at long last, Ysera, with her folks, with Marithra, Alexstrasza was there, I think Tyrande was there, goes back to the Shadowlands, takes a portal back to Ardenweald. I was expecting Malfurion to pop back out. Nope. So, while he is also a very contentious character in Warcraft lore and in the game and everything else, I would assume that it would have been a like 1-to-1, you know, you get him back, we take this one back, you know, hostage trade sort of situation. But I didn't see it. Now, maybe it has happened and I missed it. Maybe somebody's already data mined it and it's going to come. But I was actually a little surprised that he didn't come spitting right back out of that portal that Ysera goes into. But it's a great transition. And there's something in that little cinematic that Ysera talks about how all time is borrowed. And I think that's such a beautiful statement. And in essence, again, what her point was is that our limited time gives things beauty. And you hear this comment in different places about how, you know, if stuff lasted forever, it wouldn't have the specialness that it does. And so she heads back saying, you know, all is well. This essentially helps to cement the balance, which this whole expansion has really been about, is out of the chaos of the Shadowlands and Battle for Azeroth and everything else. Like, there's this coming together right? Of everybody finding their peace, finding their place to be, and all of these issues are being resolved. And this is how this part of it gets wrapped up. Where Marithra going to be on her own, right? Where she says, "Oh, I'm always going to need you," but the fact is as Ysera tells her, she has what she needs. She's strong. She's a leader. You just have to trust yourself. And that's honestly, that's a good lesson for anybody. I thought it was a really touching way to sort of wrap all that up and say goodbye once again to Ysera. And we got much better closure with that character, and you know where she is, and she's not has been killed in some horribly tragic way. I mean, she was at one point, but now this parting is a lot sweeter. And while I'm sure the drama will continue and the arguments will continue about the placement of a Berzerker on the world map, I think overall, while admittedly a little corny, I think this sort of wrap up of the major Dragonflight quest lines was satisfactory. Does it feel a little truncated? It kind of does. I feel like for us, maybe it's the time that I've played, but I feel like it was 10-1, 10-2. I don't know. It feels like a 10-3 is needed. Like you need three chapters. You need the trilogy. But they've promised that there's more coming, that there's all kinds of stuff that's being hidden, that there's more that we don't know that's going to happen, and there's more story that's going to unfold. So they don't necessarily need another whole raid and another whole land and another whole bunch of stuff to create a patch 10.3. So for what it is and for where we're going, especially knowing already where we're going next, to me it's a satisfying end. And one of the other things that I wanted to talk about is about a lot of the conversation that happens with some of the other characters once the major parts of this have concluded. But before I can get there, I gotta talk about a couple of other things. So first, let's talk about Firaloth, the big axe. We finally know that it drops. We had a mythic kill, and so for all of us that can wield these two-handed axes, this is something that something we desperately want, because it looks cool and it's got a great effect, and there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. But we needed to see that mythic drop first to find out how in the hell this thing all comes together. And as we assumed, it's complicated. So first you have to kill Farak. That's a given. You have to kill Farak. And on all difficulties, it turns out, from Raid Finder to Mythic, there is a possibility of a drop that is just Firaloth, the Dream Render. But when you first get it, if you equip it, it'll envelop you in Shadow Flame, and then you die. Or you're overpowered, what they say. But once that happens the first time, then you get a new quest that leads you down the path of all the things you need to do to get your axe. And it involves, surprisingly enough to me, several professions: leatherworking, enchanting, inscription. There's some questing that you have to get other people to help you with. It's not straightforward in that way where you're just like, I go here and I go here, or I pick it up or whatever. No, you got to do some stuff. And the materials that you need for all of these things, not just one or two things, and not cheap if you buy them. Things like Zerolite glow spores, you need 500 of those. Obsidian cobra skins, 3 of those. Prototype Dreamleaf grip, 1 of those. Dreaming essence, 5 of those. Mire slush hide, 50 of those of any rank, and that's just for the Erden's glow spore grip. That's just one part of it. So there's lots of things that are posted, lots of articles now that are posted. Now that somebody's actually been able to go through the quest line thanks to the mythic rating. So you can see how this plays out. I have also heard that potentially the initial drop that you need, you can get in your vault, which would be pretty cool. I haven't seen it myself. We'll see what happens. But the other thing that I think is really neat about this round of a legendary is that Blizzard is actually putting in bad luck protection. So if you raid a lot on all difficulties or any difficulty, there is some bad luck protection where there are greater and lesser embers of Firaloth that drop that will attune you to the Dream Render's Anthem, what it says. And so as you continue to raid, as you continue to get these items, it increases your chances of getting that drop, which I think is really awesome. Bad luck protection is something that we've seen in different forms and fashions in the history of Warcraft. And I'm glad that they added something like this for this one in particular, because it's the one I'm going to get. I'm not going to lie. It's very selfish, but I'm very happy to see this because it certainly encourages me to do it on Mythic. I'm not doing Mythic. Berzerker, what are you saying? On Raid Finder difficulty, if my own group, let's say we end up clearing normal, cool, we get a kill there. But we'll probably be, moving on to heroic, or we might call it there and just say, hey, we did good, and then it'll be Raid Finder from there. Whatever those options are, it certainly encourages me to do it, because this is an item I desperately want for my arsenal, because I think it would just be a cool thing to have and a good sort of remembrance of this time. It's funny, we look at these sort of digital items and it's like, it's just pixels, but there are items that I keep in a vault, in a bank, and wherever, and when I see those items or I equip them or I look at them, like, it instantly transports me back to where I was, the sights, the smells, the sounds, like the whole thing. It's funny how that sort of memory works, but this would be a great one for this place in time, given the great time that we've had in Dragonflight. Of course, this past month, right, just seared into my brain forever. What a wonderful sort of token of this time. So if you go out there, lots of articles about how to get the initial Firaloth drop, all the profession mats that you need, and all the questing and everything else. But a pretty cool item, and I'm glad we finally get to see it. So one other a part of this that I have to get to is the section about tier. So as we know, for seemingly this whole expansion, or however long, we have been, the whole expansion, we've been trying to reforge tier the Titan Keeper. Big dude, got a hood, great model. I love it. And if you recall, way back when we ran that updated version of Oldemon, where there were these discs, right? The disc that had all of his memories that we were trying to retrieve, and then they, got yeeted out, and we're like, oh no, what are we going to do? We got to get those at some point. Well, finally we get to the culmination of it just now, where with the help of Tier's Guard, which is a super fun little group to run around with, we have to go into an alternate version of Nighthold and fight Elisande to get it from her. And it's a quick little scenario. It's a great intro into what the AI dungeon running might look like, because it's a whole group. You've got a tank, you've got healers, you got the whole kit and caboodle. And when you get in there to fight Elisande, you actually have to go through a couple of rounds of fighting her. And as you jump out, they're talking about strategy. Well, this is, I'm going to get her attention. Then you guys come in the back, and then, no, I'm going to do it this way. And then you come in at the last minute. I thought it was a pretty inventive way of going about that, and also sort of getting us used to this dungeon AI system that we're going to be seeing very near in the very near future. But I thought that the end of how they handled this was actually kind of cool, because it was unexpected in that we didn't smash down Elysan. We didn't defeat her in battle. It was actually a conversation that convinced Elysan from Valene, the Draenei, who pleaded her case and said, hey, we need this for the good of the world. And surprisingly, Elysan said, I got what I need. I'm jumping into this other place, and here, you can have them back. Now, maybe that opens up something later, but I thought it was a nice try at something. As much as I love to smash stuff, we defeated to get the loot. It was different. And in keeping with sort of the vibe of this group of trying to, find cohesion in the light and all this stuff, sort of being on the up and up. So we get the disc, we head back, and as we, player, plug them into the Titan console, that body of Tyr that we recreated has finally revived. And we hear what you would imagine you would hear from somebody whose memories had been stored away for eons. They're looking for their friends. They're clearly confused. They know they have a lot to catch up on. And that's where we end up heading off into the Tyr's Guard headquarters, which is right nearby. And there's a lot of conversation about seemingly the roles that everybody is going to play at this point, where Tyr, the Tyr's Guard, all of that, again, probably not going away anytime soon. It's definitely hinted that there's this sort of watching over Azeroth portion of all of this that's still gonna happen in the future. That Tyr wants to get caught up on everything, and we'll probably be like, oh shit, there's some stuff going down, I'm here to help. Maybe Tyr goes bad, I don't know. But I thought it was a really fun way to finish it out. It's the side quest. It's like side quest plus, because it wasn't just a little thing. It got some cinematics and stuff. But as somebody who loves the lore, it was super cool to be there with Tyr. And I'll tell you what, it's nice to have a Titan Watcher, a Titan Keeper, whatever he is. It's nice to have one of those OU. Because homeboy owes us a favor. He owes us something. Like, he's in our debt. And that's not a bad person to be able to turn to and say, listen, I want to help you out with that thing. Yeah, I know. I need some help. We got shit going wild with a wife, a knifeu. What do they call it? Help me out. So I thought that was pretty fun. Great conclusion to that. And then we got some cool stuff. We got a new manuscript for our dragon riding drakes. White scales, and they look great on every dragon, even the ugly ones. So thought that was sweet. We got a title of the Tyr's Guard. Super cool. Now, I've seen some people that have the tabard of Tyr's Guard, but for some reason I haven't gotten it, or I haven't gotten the mail, or I missed something, or I blew it. So if you're listening to this and you got it and you know what to do, please let me know. I still haven't gotten it, and I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do about it. So, with Tyr reformed and Farak defeated and everything kind of coming together, there are a series of stay a while and listen conversations that happen, or that are available to you. I believe in Amir Drasil, with Jaina and Thrall, Khadgar, Dalaran Summermoon, Tyrande and Alexstrasza, Watcher Coronos and Tyr to catch each other up, and the one that I was hoping for the most, Jaina and Kalecgos. because we know they used to be, I don't know, they used to be dating. I don't know how that works, but I kind of don't want to think about it too much. But they seem like a nice couple. And it was too bad it didn't work out. But maybe, just maybe, some things might be rekindling here. So I'm going to leave those conversations to you. You can go and talk to these folks yourself. But it's clear that these conversations are setting up what's coming next. And with the announcement of the War Within, with the cinematic that we saw, you know, they can start to drop these hints now because we're aware, we know. But it's pretty cool to watch the characters interact this way, especially some that we haven't seen for a while. So if you haven't had a chance, if you finished all of this, definitely go back and listen to those. Some great little lore dumps there, and highly encourage that you check it out. Now, kind of wraps up what we have for 10.2. And so I wanted to move your attention briefly before we get to our trading post ratings to a couple of interviews that have occurred fairly recently. One that just happened with Jez Corden, who just appeared on this show, the managing editor over at Windows Central. He interviewed none other than Microsoft Gaming CEO himself, Phil Spencer. So I know, you know, people come on the show or whatever, but like I can't like kind of overstate how big a reach Jez Corden has. And I think it's because he's been in the Xbox world, you know, and it hasn't touched what we've been doing, Activision, Blizzard, Warcraft stuff. Like you know, it's kind of a separate universe. Homeboy's got some pull and some reach. So I'm just saying, it's pretty cool that he comes on this little show. So he got a chance to interview Phil Spencer, and they talked about a bunch of things. But the main stuff that I wanted to draw people's attention to is when they were talking about Activision Blizzard, and two things in particular. One, Phil Spencer really seems to, at least for now, be of the opinion that Blizzard will be Blizzard. And when asked about, you know, do they want to bring back old franchises and stuff like that, he really puts it to the Blizzard leadership and says it depends on where they have, as he says, where they have passion. And it's where they have, you know, their excitement and creativity and all that kind of stuff. And God, that's so fucking refreshing. I can't even begin to say how refreshing that is. But two, and this, you know, again, it goes back to something I've beat into the ground, is Warcraft, great, we're doing good. Overwatch is whatever. Diablo's doing seemingly good. Got new games, this and that. Where is StarCraft? And when Phil Spencer mentioned StarCraft by name, you know, it just is like, oh, don't tease me. Don't tease me. Well, God bless Jez. I asked him questions about, you know, fan favorite stuff, old franchises. And he said, quote, but also, I want our fans and customers to know that I don't bring up games just to tease to no end. If people have watched how we've teased things in the past, there's usually some kind of reconciliation of those hints later on. I'm not one to try and lead people on. It might not happen on the timeline that people would love, but usually when I tease, there's something there. So I did put this out on Twitter. When I read this, that was the moment that I stopped worrying about the future of StarCraft. That I embraced that there is a future for StarCraft, and it is coming in whatever form and fashion it comes in. I will sit patiently and wait, because it is one of the greatest franchises in the Blizzard crown. And if you've never played it, StarCraft 2 in particular, highly recommend you do. The campaign alone is reason enough to love that universe and to show you how deep the lore could go. There's a great book by Christy Golden in the last expansion. There's some other materials that you can read to help kind of flesh that out some more. But I was so fucking happy. So fucking happy to hear that. So it's a good read. Not super long. So if you haven't had a chance to go out and read it yet, it's Windows Central, Jez Corden's interview. with Phil Spencer. It's also an interview that IGN did with John Haidt and Holly Longdale after BlizzCon, where they talk about, the future of the franchise and Chris Metzen. And they actually mentioned, I believe, Chris Robinson in one of these. Maybe it was another one. Yeah, it was the second one. So in this interview, just talking about how they're moving forward, the multiple teams, possibly more other media, Warcraft movie, show, something. That could be pretty cool. And then the other one that was confusing me, there was another interview on But Why Though, in which they actually mentioned Chris Robinson, who we haven't heard about in a long time. But Chris Robinson, they talked about how, cosmic threats and going off the rails. They said that he's part of the sort of Warcraft management, that he was the senior art director for a long time, that he's now working with Chris, who's the creative director. So it was nice to see that mentioned, because I wondered where the heck that guy went. But another good interview with some more information over there. So on But Why Though and IGN, also 2 good interviews. All right. Well, that's not the end. I don't know why. That's always what I say when it's over, but it's not over yet. We got to get to Trading Post ratings, motherfuckers. Let's go. All right. So Trading Post ratings, there are some pretty good options this month. And I already rated all of the class armor sets and weapon sets, so I'm not going to repeat myself. And I will note that they are repeating some stuff again in this month, some good ones. So I'll see if I remember the ratings that I gave before. I don't know. But right out of the gate, let's hit it. For 600 Trader's Tender, the Crimson Glimmerfur mount.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's there than me! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
So this one has like a Gilnean tie, and it's this badass fox or whatever it is. It's like hot pink and purple and white. This thing's amazing. It's amazing. It's a phenomenal mount. It's 600 Trader Tender. They could have charged more. I still would have bought it. Next up, it's a pet. It's a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer pet, but this one's called Mitzi for 600 Trader's Tender.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's there than me! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
I mean, kind of looks like a goat. Its nose glows. Bruh. The nose glows. Buy it. Do it. You want it. It's the holiday season. Come on now. Garlock is a little ogre pet. He's a returnee.
I mean, it's alright, like...
Yeah. Okay. Armor transmogs, we have the Vagabond Snowy Threads and Trappings. Also returnees, but...
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's there than me! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
It's a beautiful universal set. That's amazing. I love it. And going with it, the classic Snowy Tabard.
I mean, it's alright, like...
Yeah, could have done a little bit more with it. We could have done a little bit more with it. Fine white evening gloves, also returning along with the Vagabond's Crimson Threads and Trappings and the Soiree gloves. I'll take them all together.
I mean, it's alright, like...
They're okay. They're okay. Not anything crazy. Next up, the Trader's Crimson Sarong.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
I mean, you could have embellished that way more. Come on now. Next up, Crimson Treads of the Callowhack.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's there than me! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
I mean, these are Callowhack shoes. They're like fuzzy. They're like fuzzy shoes with ropes on them, and I mean, this is classic winterwear attire, old school stuff. It's awesome. All right, Trader's Lively Sarong, which is just sort of the green version of the red other one.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
Yeah, you need more. Next up, Ensemble, the Scarlet Zealot's Trappings. It's the Scarlet Crusade robe and shield.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's there than me! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Now, I recognize this isn't for me, but it looks amazing. Next up, you already know. Errant Crusader's Helm, 225 Traders Tenders.
That's what I'm talking about! That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's there than me! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
That is one of the greatest blade helms ever. That's amazing. With the sort of like the Shadowmourne crest across it, across the top, and then a big faceplate. Oh. Been holding out on me, Blizz. God damn. Next up, Blade Master's Azure Stones. Big balls around your neck.
I mean, it's alright, like...
Yeah, it's kind of like, again, it's sort of like an Alliance version of the Blade Masters that we saw on the Horde side, old Warlords of Draenor stuff, which has another piece coming up. Next up, Wildhammer Scout's headgear.
I mean, it's alright, like...
Yeah, it's toothy, it's feathery. It's okay. It's okay. It's not so bad. Next up, Jeweled Valkyrian Cape.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's there than me! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
It's a good month, ain't it? Cloak, it's almost long enough, but it's got a very cool design, and it's Valkyrie is in the fucking name. So, you know, I'm going to give it a high rating. Next up, the Blade Master's Thundering Greatsword, 200 for 225 Trader Tender.
I mean, it's alright, like...
Nothing fancy, just kicking ass. Goes well with the big balls around your neck on the other one. Next up, the Arsenal Storm Rider Stormhanders. These are one-handed maces for 400 Trader Tenders.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's there than me! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
These are phenomenal. This is the only one-handed weapon I've bought in forever. If I ever need it, this is what I'm wearing. They're like lightning coming off the end of them, and they look like big meat tenderizers. These are badass. Good job. Next up, I know somebody in the Discord was asking about this. The Candied Blade one-handed sword for 600 Traders Tenders.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
Now let me explain this. All right, it is totally on point when it comes to the holiday. But what this is a peppermint stick that you got from your grandmother, and it was the only candy you had around, and you were hungry and bored, and so you ate it, and then you got it all the way down to that little pointy part. So you had like your hands all sticky now, and you got a little bit of the peppermint stick left, and it's the pointy part, and then you end up stabbing yourself with it somewhere, like in the roof of your mouth, your tongue, or something. Fuck that noise. The Candy Blade can go to hell. Next up, Lost Crusaders Azure Battle Axe, one-handed axe for 200 Trader Tenders.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's there than me! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
It's a one-handed axe, but man, it's just like neon blue. Does it every time. Next up, a Glittering Fell Gavel, one-handed mace, 200 Trader Tender Fell Gavel. I'm thinking, now this is going to go.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
Fuck the Fell. I never want to see it again. Chilled Touch of the Condemned. It is a wand for 150 Trader Tenders.
I mean, it's alright, like...
Not offensive. You know, it needs like one more thing to make it over the top. But next up, the Craftsman's Timber Mallet for 50 Trader Tender.
I mean, it's alright, like...
It's a basic wooden mallet. 50 Trader Tender. That's even a good deal. Next up, the Chipped Gladius, a one-handed sword for 50 Trader Tender.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's there than me! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Listen, sometimes you just need like a old school sword to complete the look and to go into battle. And this one will do it every time. Now, last but not least, this month's bonus reward, Buttercup, the purple baby moose. It says his pink antlers make him the life of any party.
That's what I'm talking about! That's what I'm talking about! That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's there than me! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
He almost looks like a goat as well, but yes, anytime you put a moose in front of me, making an offer, you goddamn right, I'm gonna take that moose. So there are your December Trading Post ratings. You don't have to like them, but those are mine. And just a couple of sort of tangential related items before we go. One, the Sky Captain's Masquerade Attire Transmog set is currently available for purchase. I don't know what it is. It looks weird. I don't know who this is for. But I guess it's got to be for somebody who likes an airship. And last but not least, right now, for a limited time, through Amazon Prime Gaming, from now, last week, until December 26th at 9:29 Pacific time, get the Tabard of Fury. That's right. I'm not saying it's the official Tabard of Unshackled Fury, but, you know, it might be one of them because it's called the Tabard of Fury. So get out there, hook up your account, link up your account, and get your own Tabard of Fury today. All right. I think we've done enough damage for one episode. My thanks to all of you for listening. And remember, you can always follow me and this show on Twitter at Berzerker Rage and Unshackled_Fury, on Blue Sky at Berzerker and Unshackled Fury, as well as on Twitch at Unshackled Fury and Real Berzerker. You can also join our Discord, links for which are in the profile of the show on Twitter and on our bonus roll page. Feel free to contact the show with your questions, comments, or otherwise through any of those resources or on shackledfury.com. And you can find this show wherever you get your podcasts. So once again, thank you for listening. Remember to keep your swords wet and your banners high, and we'll see you next time. Farewell.